We all good?
All right, Chair.
I guess we're good. All right. Call to order the August 29th, 2022 meeting of the EDC. I like TLAs. With that being said, tonight we have a special guest, Mr. Sella of a new development in town that we're all eager to hear about because we've seen it going up for months and it is definitely a beautiful building. I think that first of all, what we'll do is we'll do the roll call.
Yes.
Okay, jumping ahead here, we got a little excited, of course, but Carlos, if you
All
go ahead.
Commissioner Zelinski.
Here.
Commissioner Talbot, sorry.
I'm here. Yeah.
Commissioner Patrick.
Here.
Commissioner Jacobs.
Here, sorry.
Problem. And I'll let the minutes note to reflect that Ms. Jacobs is online virtually. And then also in attendance is the Mayor Pro Tem Carl, who is also online virtually. And then Carlos Trejo, the planning director for the city of Olivet, along with Don Doty, our senior planner, are here. And then we have several guests in attendance, including Councilmember Missy Waldman and City Manager Barbara Sante.
Okay. With that being said, moving to public comments. Is there anyone online, Carlos?
Chairman, there does not appear to be any public comments.
Okay, and none from the audience here. All right, with that being said, I'd like to go ahead and introduce Mr. Sella to maybe say a few words about his development. Mr. Sella, if you want to go ahead and take the mic here.
Well,
And
good evening.
we're all a very informal group here, so just go ahead and we just love to hear what you got going.
Good. Well, thank you for having me, and I appreciate it. As you all know, Pauline and I are Olivet residents and have been for, I don't know, 20, 25 years. Raised our kids here, and they're all back in St. Louis, and none of them live in Olivet yet. But in any event, one of the things that I have always felt is that Olivet has been very underdeveloped. And I liken it to Manchester Road from McKnight going west to pick your crossroad. But that neck of Manchester was always just horrible, and that had no development. And what little it did have was frankly pretty mediocre. And in the last 20 years, groups have gone in and really moved Manchester Road up quite a bit, and it's wonderful. And I've always thought that Olivet would be the next Manchester. I think that Olive Street probably gets more traffic than automobile traffic than Manchester. It's a very busy street, and a lot of traffic goes through Olivet and doesn't seem to stay very well because there's not much to stay in other than we have some businesses that we all know about. But I took the opportunity to buy the old Ponderosa, which I bought it from a guy who lives in Florida, and I called him once a year for 15 years, and he kept saying no. And then all of a sudden he started moving dirt, and I called him back in Florida and I said, "Can I buy the place now?" And he said, "Sure." So then the thinking was to try to bring a standalone retail building development that would try to bring the community together and have opportunity for people of Olivet to come and trade or do whatever they want to do. And so we, as you all know, are in the garden center business, and what a perfect opportunity for us to put our temporary location, which was on the western side of the bowling alley parking lot. And we were there for April 1st till August 1st, give or take. We had great success there, and we really enjoyed it. And we feel like in the last 10 years, we built a pretty good reputation. And this gave us an opportunity to have a bricks and mortar retail store that would be open year round with a 2,000 square foot garden center gift shop. And we have a gift shop down in Oakville, Missouri, and the gift shop is I would say bent toward plant type things, but it's not that. I mean, if you needed to go get a birthday present for somebody or do your holiday shopping, it's a great little store to go and look around. We obviously sell plants there as well, but our intention is to emulate that almost to a T. So that's going to be on the eastern side of that development, and we will anchor it, and hopefully we'll certainly be there by the holiday season. But I think it's going to take some time to build the shelves and stock the shelves. We've been doing a lot of buying, so on that front we're pretty okay. But we just have to build it out, and I suspect that it will take maybe some evolution and time. We'll be open for the holiday season, but maybe next spring it'll even look a little bit different as we get more familiar with it. We had a signed lease with UPS, which would be the slot right next to us. I say we had one. They forgot to get UPS to come to the space and look at it and approve it. We don't feel like that's going to be a problem at all. And they're currently just up the road a little bit. So the geographical move is not going to be substantial, and they're going to be in a new building. So they sent us the signed lease, and then they said, well, can you rip it up for a week while we get UPS to walk in and say, okay, procedurally. And so I think that that's going to happen this week. We've ironed out all the details. And so that's good, including the build out. And then the rest of the center, I'm holding my breath, and while this is being recorded, I would hope that this would say somewhat confidential. I cannot be in a position where I take tenants from other retail developments that we have around town and move them, because that would be a bit of a conflict. And I just can't do that. I've got a family, a brother and a sister, and I can't with a straight face say we're moving somebody to our new space on Olive Street. But I have been talking to a tenant that is a current tenant of ours. They're very, very high end. It's a retail / I don't know what the word is, but they're a paper company, and they do everything paper, from wedding invitations to business cards. And they're a very large company. They're nationally based. They do work all over the country, and they've outgrown their space in one of our centers, and they have told me that they're definitely not renewing. That said, they wouldn't be available to come on board until next November, which sounds like a long way away, meaning a year and 2 months, but it's going to take time to build that space out. And it's going to take time for them to physically move, and they would probably want to move no later than November 1st, because they can't blow the holiday season. I mean, they do Christmas cards like you can't imagine. And then we're also talking, and so that would take that space downstairs as well as much of the top upstairs, where they would be able to do their printing and their creative. And they have a architectural planner, space planner that they're visiting with as we speak. And we look forward to kind of hashing things out with them, knowing that they would just go forward at the appropriate time. And then we're also talking to a couple of high-end restaurants. I think that the space in Olivet could use a high-end restaurant. And so the question is, who's going to be that high-end restaurant? We've talked to a number of well-known restaurateurs, and no one's really told us no. It's just a function of timing and the build out and everything else. Our thinking is that we'd shake hands on some sort of deal, and then we'd go and build it out. We've already gotten an architect to lay out the restaurant. We know what it would look like. We know where the kitchen's going to be. We know that there'll be upstairs dining. There will not be any outdoor dining to speak of, unless we can figure out a place to put a bench. But that would make that center 100% occupied. pretty quickly, which we're excited about. And along with the high-end restaurants, we're kind of going back and forth, but I've also talked to the folks at Starbucks and Caldi's. Starbucks has said definitively, no way are we coming to that center because all we do are drive-throughs. Caldi said, we love the concept. So Caldi's business model has changed with COVID. They now kind of are breakfast and lunch, and they close at 2, which is kind of a new concept theoretically, instead of being open all afternoon and evening. But that would fit very well. I'm not suggesting to you that Caldi's is coming because that's not true, but we are talking to them as well. And we've talked to the folks at Deer Creek Coffee to open up a second location. They're off of Clayton Road in Ladue. So that's the building, and that's it. It has been slow, admittedly, between the the ability to get products, building products, COVID, you name it. It's just been unbelievable. And we're also, as an example, very worried about, we have built a door system with a vestibule. So the sliding door is open and then you walk in and then the next sliding door is open again. And UPS wants to do the same thing, but we know right now that that's about a 4 to 6 month lead time item. And if they want to be open in April, something's got to give. So they know they're up against it and we want to get going with it. And so that's what it is there.
So it's great. Thanks for the overview.
Sure.
Again, really, really nice looking building.
Thank you. Thank you
nice
very
looking
much.
building. Just open it up to the members here to see if there's any burning questions, comments, concerns. Our city manager.
No, it's not. But I will say that different sectors in our country had different sets of problems. We have a thoroughbred horse race track and casino that the state of Arkansas completely shut down for 9 months, and we were out of business. That was the end of that. And then they had this genius thought that they would force us to reopen with no fans in the stands, which is not a good business model. And it's not till recently that we've been able to get going. And I cite that because so many different industries have taken it on the chin or had some adverse effects to them. Retail clearly was one of them because everyone was mail ordering stuff and not leaving home and getting it delivered. And I think that created a feeling of comfort, whereas before, particularly women didn't really want to order clothing online. They wanted to go into a store, and they've kind of bent away from that a little bit, but it's coming back, and it's coming back pretty strong. So the retailers that we talk to are all pretty darn happy right now. And so has it really affected? Yeah, it affected us for a couple of years. We were lucky that we were mostly 100% occupied. We had to give a lot of concessions and rent. But for each month we gave up, we added a month to their lease. And we weathered the storm, and now they're all pretty happy.
Yeah. So the companies you're talking to, like, why are they excited about all of that? Like, what is it?
Well, I think
Geography? Is it
I think it's the geography for sure. And finally, while it is U City, the advent of the Costco down there, and then the Keeley development, we're seeing it budge now. It used to just be kind of, I don't know, felt like it was, automobile fix them up places and some fast food and, maybe a 7-Eleven or a drugstore. And I think that now we are starting to see a real conscious movement. And I think that the apartments across the street are higher end. And I think that that's going to bring, obviously a lot of residents that are higher end. Ladue Schools is certainly going to be a plus for them. But there's no reason in the world that we shouldn't have, 3 corridors in St. Louis, Olive, Clayton, and Manchester. And so I think as we push the envelope a little bit, I'm hoping that we can maybe develop other parts of Olivet on Olive Street Road and continue to do, what we're doing and just create more of a excitable place to come.
John, do you see any issues with the road itself, with Olive Road itself? It's a county road, not a county road, it's a state road. Traffic signalization, lack of foot traffic, speed of cars, that sort of thing. Does that hurt you? Does this help you? Would you like to see some changes?
Well, I will say this, I do look around town quite a bit and there's a desire to have more foot traffic. And at the end of the day, there's no foot traffic on Clayton Road and there's no foot traffic on Manchester Road. And we don't have much foot traffic here, but I don't think that that's a necessary thing. I mean, in fact, quite to the contrary, if Olive Street's very busy, there probably isn't going to be much foot traffic. I think that the light at the bowling alley, and Carlos, you might be able to help me out here. I don't know the crossroad. Indian Meadows. Okay. That's a very helpful light because you can't get out of our center and you can't get out of the bowling alley if that light doesn't change. I do know that there is going to be some discussion about traffic coming out of that apartment complex that can only go one way. There's further discussion that they may mandate that you can only turn one way when you come out of our shopping center. The way around that to me is a simple fix, which is we would need help from Olivet clearly, but to get a second light that was synchronized with the Indian Meadows light. And I think that could be very, very helpful. Now, the pushback's going to be, well, it's too close. You shouldn't have lights that are that close together. But I think that the argument would be that they would be synchronized and they're either both green or they're both red and just stop everybody to be able to get in and out. And I don't know why MoDOT would have a problem with that or whoever it would be, but it's going to take more than me picking up the phone and calling them.
Probably MoDOT, being a large bureaucratic organization.
Right.
Yeah, and I guess you've been a resident of all of that as well as a business owner here too. How do the two fit with you, and how do you see all of that helping you out as a resident as well as a business owner?
Well, and that's just it. I think as a resident, I think the residents of Olivet find themselves driving out of Olivet to go do whatever they want to do, unless they want to go bowl. And they're shopping, their groceries, their way of life other than drugstores is really outside of Olivet. And so I keep scratching my head. How do we keep everybody in Olivet? And I think if we can, keep our eye on the ball and maybe do another project or 2 or 3 and, force the issue, I think that'll be good for all the residents of Olivet. And I think it'll be great from a tax perspective to just the ability to say to our friends that live in Kirkwood, hey, why don't you drive over to Olivet and we'll have dinner. So I think I can squint my eyes and see that happening very readily here. I think it's just ripe for the taking, but it's going to take somebody that's interested in aggressively buying what's already there and probably raising it and starting over.
Have you had any negative feedback? You said the restaurants that you spoke to really didn't say no, but did they have any constructive criticism with respect to the area, what they're needing in order to want to come here?
The restaurant folks are always just bashful of one thing, and that is the cost to get it open.
Sure.
And everybody that we've talked to is very excited about, again, the foot traffic and the proximity that we are to the residents that we have in Olivet, as well as the proximity to Ladue and certainly Clayton. Everyone's very close, and those are very high-end city limits that prey on high-end residents to go eat at their high-end restaurants. And so I think if we could, create that environment here, I think the restaurateurs that I've talked to have all said, we know the people are there. That's not the problem.
Okay.
That's not the problem. And again, if there's going to be a problem, I think the traffic could be an issue if we don't figure out the light situation.
Going rogue. I just went through Rolla and hadn't been through there in a while. And I don't know if anyone's been there recently. Missouri S&T had been buying all of that property for a really long time, or UMR, if you don't know what Missouri S&T is anymore, but they're putting in roundabout after roundabout, and I was floored with how well we know that about roundabouts, but specifically there, the traffic was always so bad and so backed up. And Business 63 that goes through Rolla is not unlike Olive, actually, at all. In fact, it's part of my lure to get my family that lives there to try to move to Olivet. Just like, you're going to be fine. You're in the compounds. Anyhow, do you know if the city has looked at anything like that with our congestion points? Right. Right.
We can't hear whoever is speaking.
I forgot I wasn't on a microphone. We have talked, MoDOT, Olive is, operated by MoDOT. So any changes have to go in conjunction with them. We have done some grants and we do have the Olive, corridor. We have not looked at roundabouts. Part of the issue with roundabouts is they have to be so overbuilt now.
Right.
For trucks that I'd be interested to see what they did there to actually make them work. Because
They bought massive amounts of property.
Yeah, they've
Yeah,
taken
yeah.
a great idea of a
Yeah.
roundabout and they've overbuilt it.
Yeah.
Which is really unfortunate.
Yeah.
Because it does keep traffic going. People do figure them out, but that we've made them American and we've made them really big.
Sure. No, and I didn't mean to go totally offline. I just, with his comment about the one-way issues coming out of either side, it seemed like that would be somewhat of a solution, but anyway, thank you.
Well, I would just reiterate that I would hope that the EDC would start really scratching your head about, I think the next step is we're going to have to figure out the traffic lights. And if we don't figure out the traffic lights, a lot of the retail is going to be tricky. If you go up to the liquor store or, up there and you're trying to get out of there, the hedges are high and it's just a long line of traffic and it just continues until they stop finally at India Meadows. And then it continues again once that turns green. And we're just going to have to figure that out. And I think it's a very important thing to figure out.
And that was one of the community objectives from our comprehensive plan back in 2002, was to help better manage traffic on the Olive corridor. Given Creve Coeur and University City, we don't control the volume of traffic that's going to be on that corridor, but what we can control is how we manage that. So over the past 15 years, I think we've consolidated about a dozen aprons off of Olive. And then and similar to with your development, we've created a lot of cross-access easements to anticipate future development to coordinate traffic between properties as opposed to getting onto Olive in there. And we've had this discussion, part of the plan identifies this as an ideal location across from the condominiums and the Oliver, along with your apron, as an opportunity for some type of signalization. We've had that discussion. We know what the restrictions are in there. And then we've looked at on the eastern side of Dealman, where the mobile station is another opportunity to try to facilitate or coordinate alike. And until given that it's a state highway and we don't have that control, but what we have done in the areas that we do have the influence is ensure that we're redirecting traffic into those areas for that future consideration in there. And it's slow. It's slow and MoDOT has a more of an engineering mind as opposed to a conceptual or look at traffic, but I think we're getting there. Or positioning ourselves to be there better, hopefully down the future that these things can become realities. So I think it's good points.
If our development is too close to the Indian Meadows for a light, what about going further down? And I'm gonna need help on this road too, but you've got the apartment complex. And between the apartment complex where that road that you turn in
Mhm.
there and then you,
Yep.
you know,
That's, there's Freeze, and then that Freeze extends directly into the wall of another apartment development. And that's where, there were some placement decisions that could have been better thought out in the past that were done. And now we're trying to figure out how do we maneuver these. I think as you get towards Freezy, you either get too close to Dealman. If you get towards where your apron is and Tower Hill, then you get too close to Indian Meadows, but it's going to have to be one of the two. And I think right now our focus, given the developments that are occurring, we secured the access easements on the Oliver. We secured on your property, to anticipate if either your neighbors redevelop, that we can have that discussion. So,
No, it's a good discussion though, because I think there's two schools of thought here. One is when you look at the county road, MoDOT is going to want throughput. They want to get people from A to B versus what we want something stickier. We want to be able to slow things down. In order to slow things down, general consensus of a lot of road building is you neck things down. You maybe you take a lane out, you make it parking. You do all those sort of things. The other alternative to slow things down is to lower the speed limit and put some speed traps on it. And no one really likes that.
right.
So there's different schools, like the roundabouts is a really good potential fix. I don't know if it's, if it'd be done here, but yeah. But yeah, it's
I think some,
it lends itself to whatever MoDOT's gonna want.
and
And we can be, we can push it and we can say, this is what we'd want in our community, but it's gonna take them to go ahead and approve it.
I think some of the thought is 50 years, it was a state highway. It's now a main street for St. Louis County, on the, north of Clayton or north of Manchester. It's Main Street. And I think, their mindset needs to change in there. That's why you have I-64, I-70 or the Page extension.
Well,
So-
and taking it a step further, I don't know, I'm certain that the traffic lights going throughout Creve Coeur are probably adequately distanced apart, but they're in sync somehow, because once you get past Warson, you're cruising until you get to 270, really. And then they all turn red.
So,
I just want to call out Ms. Jacobs if she's online and if she has any questions, we don't want to forget.
No, hold on, sorry. There you go. Hi. I don't have any questions. Your building is beautiful. I maybe didn't hear this correctly. Did you mention the restaurant that's going in there, or did you mention that you're just talking to some restaurants?
No, I didn't mention the restaurants that we are talking.
Okay, because I couldn't hear for at one point. It was a little quiet. So that's what I do. So I deal with restaurants all the time. So I'm always curious about restaurants. But
Yeah,
I think it's lovely, and I think it'll be great. I'm really looking forward to it.
Thank you. Yeah, I think we all like to go to restaurants, and I think they don't have to be, white tablecloth, but we certainly don't want to have another sports bar. I don't think.
No, we just want to carry great ice cream. That's all we want. That is actually what I do.
It's interesting you say that, because ice cream is a landlord's worst nightmare. And
Oh.
I'm talking about like Baskin Robbins type places, because invariably folks come out and they'll spill it, and then you've got goop on the sidewalk, and it's just a real tough one to clean up all the time.
Well, we're very, very neat and tidy at our ice cream shop, but I appreciate your point.
That being said, Maybe time to clean up here. I really appreciate you coming out. If there's no other questions or comments, I mean, we're all looking forward to you coming back and, seeing how things are going once
Sure.
you're up and running or whatever. We're always open to ideas and we try to be open. Like I say, we're a pretty informal group. Any ideas you have, we're always open to see what we can do to better the economic core of all of that.
Mhm. Good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Do you all know off the top of your head who owns the apartment complex?
When,
The one that is on the south side of Olive between the mortuary and,
Oh, the Eden Rock,
that what it's called?
right at the corner of Hastings and that abuts your property.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't have the name
Right,
offhand.
yeah.
I can look it up while you guys are talking. You got it done?
We can get that to you, definitely.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Great.
All right.
Well, thank you.
Well, thanks again. Appreciate it.
Good.
Thank you, John.
Talk to
Appreciate
y'all.
it, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Well, that being said, we just skipped around a little bit, so we'll go ahead to business communications plan. Carlos?
This is part of the business communication plan.
Right,
So basically
right.
what I was just putting in some of that background. Some of the part in the process, again, we had these 4 core questions and it was kind of hard to try to. And I gave them in advance, hoping that they kind of stick to it. So it's easier to try to put these in a matrix and all that. But I think, on an overall conversation, I think he answered all 4 or provided information on all 4.
Sounds good. Okay. Okay, item 3.2, which is individual business reach. I know it's an ongoing task for members to go ahead and talk to businesses and just get some feedback. I know that I have been negligent in the last month, actually talking to business owners in an official capacity. I wonder if anybody else has.
Negligent probably is a good word for me. Well, however, I have made a strong effort to have breakfast and coffee a lot more often at the diner, and I was actually speaking with them, and they stay busy, but as you all know, most of their patrons are the residents and the same people that have been going there forever. So as long as they're open and you can get in there before 2 o'clock, they're going to be busy because they're our closest and best option. But they didn't really have any complaints. They didn't have a lot of feedback. I purposely sat at the counter so I would have a conversation. But yeah, no, there wasn't a ton of feedback, but what little feedback I got was positive. Yeah.
Good.
Oh,
I hope it was a nice place out of too much heat and humidity. But okay.
Chairman, one thing on this, if there, we've gone through the 3 major developers that are going on right now, and if there's any suggestions or somebody you'd like us to approach for the next meeting, shoot me an email. Don't have to decide now, but I'll reach out. I don't know where. We can
Sounds
easily
good.
contact somebody, but if there's something that you'd like to hear or someone you'd like to hear from, the earlier I can reach out to them to let them know.
Sounds good, Carlos. We will do that. Okay, item 4 on the agenda, 5-year economic development plan. We have anything new on that?
Ms. Doty is going to just do a quick presentation of our business license data. And again, this is kind of reflecting if we're, how, in the process of how we're collecting data and now using data to analyze and all that. So. And I think you should be, I'm going to stop this share.
Yeah, oh, I should be hot or hot mic. All right.
Got it,
I'm
okay.
good. Thing, I'm sharing. So we've got a nice little summary of business licenses that have been submitted thus far. And we have about, well, 5,000, little, it's more than this because there have been some businesses that have submitted applications since then. Certainly do not have 100% of the businesses in Olivet accounted in these numbers. It was interesting that so many were smaller businesses. And so I kind of highlighted that in the top portion. But more or less, I want to get an opinion from everyone on what kind of numbers we want to see. I did just these quick graphs and number breakouts of you know, what's in each sector, what is, you know, let's see, it's by the employees and the number of businesses mainly. There are other details that I can pull out of the next data set, but these are really some of the more salient issues. Next page. If what I wanted to ask mainly though was what would you like to see? What kind of details would be most interesting? Number of businesses by major industry, which it takes that element of the number of employees out. So you're looking at what your concentration of businesses are as opposed to what you have the most people in. So I think it's interesting that manufacturing is still kind of, you know, it's still higher than one would think. I would think information would be a little bit higher personally. And then I did our top 20 businesses by number of employees. And then I cut out the number of employees. That's why that looks bad. So number of top 20 businesses, obviously that's kind of a good one to know what's all here. What are our notable businesses? What people normally ask besides what they see on Olive, right? Because there is a lot that you don't see, right? As you go through Olivet, people forget about our light industrial district. I don't have the map to show you, but I think the last time we gathered, I had a map with the distribution of the businesses. That, of course, is updated with the additional businesses that we've received. However, you know, it really showcases our diversity in terms of geography. We've got a good amount of home-based businesses. I thought it was kind of interesting, you know, the number of employees in home-based businesses are not going to be very high, but we still have, there are more people employed in home-based businesses than there are the number of businesses. So they're not all just single person businesses either. However, 30 is kind of a lot, you know. I feel like that's a lot of business. Oh. Or 22. But the number of businesses by license type is something that Carlos and I are going to deep dive, like things I don't want to say necessarily mislabeled, but you know, should they be manufacturers or should they be wholesalers? And kind of like really discuss what they do on site, possibly, you know, get tours would be nice. Be nice to see some property tours and get involved. So any questions, comments, or complaints? I like it.
I have one. So for instance, if we were to have a brewery for, let's say, would that be a manufacturer or would that be retail?
You did a what?
A brewery.
A
Meaning
brewery.
if we
Okay.
attracted some in the industrial, and I asked that question because one of the other communities I used to work in. Just curious how that would, what we would look at that business like here.
We have tables that break down
Mhm.
the types of businesses and what they fit in under, that would be a limited service or a limited service restaurant. So it wouldn't, yeah. So under retail, but restaurant.
Gotcha.
But, it depends, I guess, if you also manufacture
That's-
on site.
That's my question.
And your, the amount of manufacturing is determined, I believe, by the FDA. And it has to do with the number of bottles you produce. And if you produce, whatever food or beverage, if you're producing it for sale on site, or if you're actually producing it for like worldwide. Yeah. So, and I'm so sorry.
No, that's fine. Actually, this is a good analysis. One thing is interesting, your comments about home occupancy, home offices, that sort of thing. I think, always thought that this is an extreme gray area. Because I always look at businesses as to, ask the question, if there is a business in your city or in your town, what resources do they demand of the city, or what extra costs do they put on the city? If it's a home-based business, there's really not much in the vast majority of instances. So, when you have like a manufacturing facility or brewery or something like that, you have infrastructure, you have build outs, you have commercial tax bases, that sort of thing. So it's really, I guess, the only thing that home-based businesses do. It's like a couple $100 a year for a business license. And
It's
I
not
think that-
terribly, well, it's not a couple $100, at least what the occupancy permit process for the business license is one key part of it. It drives, it's a one-time cost, but it drives that first time cost up a little bit, but by and large, the amount per business license, it is like $100.
I just sort of see it as more and more people are being more entrepreneurial. There is far more opportunities for people to do things on their own. I mean, call it the gig economy, call it what you will, but I think that maybe at some point we should take a look at, just exactly what is a home-based business, what is not. Kind of let people do what they want to do in their own homes versus be subject to the same rigors as someone leasing out a place with traffic, et cetera, that would put more demands on the city rather than someone working out of a home office somewhere.
I could argue, though, that a home-based business does have increased traffic, almost always, I would think. If you have whether it's people coming there to, purchase something, or if it's that person going someplace.
And
But
there,
not
and
necessarily. I
there's
suppose.
the rub. That's kind of one of the caveats or the levels that you would look at in terms of qualifying or quantifying a business.
That's interesting. We should definitely think about
Because
that.
one way it could be, it's like you just look at the amount of corporations. It's very easy to incorporate as an individual. And many individuals have many corporations, and they often use their their home address, or perhaps the new UPS
Right,
place
yeah.
in the new Cella building as their office. But it'd be an interesting analysis to look at, I think, in time. I'll keep you busy.
We'll take a look. And one of the things in the latest round of legislature and things that are now into law, they did put some restrictions on communities licensing home-based occupations and we're going through, or the city attorney is going through the statutes and determining, what changes are going to be necessary or coming to our code for that purpose. So, and
This is coming from the state, Carlos?
that is correct. Mhm.
And are they making it harder on home businesses or easier on home businesses?
Depends on how you look at it. They are they are looking to reduce the restrictions or regulations that communities apply to home-based businesses. And there, and not enough, I don't know enough information to tell you whether, you know, whether those are good or bad, or in terms of what they are yet.
I mean, because there's a lot of home-based businesses, to Dawn's point, that have no traffic in and out of their businesses because it's all online. You know? And I would say that the person who's working from home, well, I have a question about that, but the person whose business is based in their home, that is completely internet-based or non face-to-face, business-to-business stuff, whatever it is, where there's no traffic in and out of their home. Why in the world would that person need an occupancy above and beyond their home when they're the only ones in there? That's question one. And question two is, if I had a home-based business that was non-people coming into my house, I would travel less because I'm at home working. That's all. That's my 2 cents.
No. No. But I think it's something we can kind of take a look at when we get those, when we get that analysis, we'll bring it in.
Okay.
In
It's
there,
worth
and then
at
just
least a
to note
nickel.
that the over time learning on the business licenses and how they're set, they are a tax, you know, so that is a.
Sure. I'm not saying they shouldn't have to have a license. I'm saying, why would they need an occupancy permit specifically? This is something that Dawn said. There was one other question I had. If I work for a big company that is not based in Olivet, but I'm working from home, they're based in Chicago or Washington State or whatever, do I need a home business license?
No.
Okay.
That is exactly what I did.
The intent of the business license is in regards to where that company, you know, where
Is headquartered.
correct, you know, so where they, if you registered the company to your home, then it's assumed that you're operating that home-based business.
Oh, I don't know. I have a lot of things come to my house for my business so they don't get lost at work, like important stuff, you know.
And that's
Am I-
okay. It's not
my
about,
registered-
but it's where your business itself
Right,
is.
understand. I'm not trying to nitpick it. I'm just,
No.
plus I'm the one with the hard end, so I'll shut up now.
No, that's fine. Actually, it's a good conversation because things have changed so much in the last 20, 25 years. It used to be deliveries, that sort of thing, but you know what? There's so many Amazon trucks going up and down the streets these days that you can't tell whether it's for a business or whatever.
True that.
There any chance, like the numbers by themselves are good, but they're static? We don't get to see the trending. So you said we had 230 business license applications this year. Is that more or less? In terms of the number of companies, like the top 20, where's the shifting happening, going up and down? And then just overall employees, are we seeing less employees in the city because of a more of a hybrid approach and less people going into some of the larger things? That's the type of things I'd be interested in. What's really
And those are good points, and we'll start looking at those. I know Don was taking, I will note, like, Enterprise Fleet, which is headquartered here in Olivet, they went from 700 plus or minus 50 since they started. Then, of course, the past 2 years to a pretty vacant parking lot and pretty sizable parking lot. But they reported in this year's business license over 1,200 employees.
Yeah.
And it's just hard to fathom. It's like,
well, but they could have been closing other locations and consolidating
Right.
real estate into
Mhm.
one, just making everyone when they come into that one place. So
that one we saw, I mean, and that was the biggest growth that we had. While a majority of them stayed stable, and we always keep an eye on the merchant's license and how those tiers work, and they were pretty much consistent with, you know, Shanco, which jewelry would, you know, always being our highest, but Medical West is slowly catching up, you know, in there. So one's on Olive Boulevard, one's in the industrial park, and that's always interesting to see.
Well, that being said, with employees, let's just hope that they all like to go out to lunch. with our new potential budding restaurateurs that are looking here. Anyways, any other comments, questions on that? Good job, Don.
Oh.
Appreciate it.
Oh, well, it's only just begun. This is kind of a jumping off point for the numbers, and we will be looking at the historic data. Right now, I only have so much. However, it's attainable to put together a deeper history. I want to see who's grown, the movement. There's not a lot of movement. I will say that pretty much everybody is where they have been. The number of employees, though, I do feel like changed because it seemed like the amounts grew. There are several, like, so under our table B businesses, there's an extra added amount, like $5 per person over 15 employees. It's I can't actually remember the numbers, but I felt like there were a lot less round numbers and more actual,
So
Numbers
$5
paid for their employee.
per employee is the charge for your business license?
no.
Is that,
No, there's a base fee plus an amount for, it's not for every business, it's for table B businesses, which I can show you the applications. They're online. It's a table that we got from, or that I was the only one that I've ever known. I believe it's derived from the IRS.
oh,
We, all hail.
one bunch of people. Yeah. All right, good. Any other comments? All right, moving on. Other business. We don't have any meeting minutes
No.
this month. We'll see them next month, I'm sure. City reports, city staff reports.
Did have a couple of, bear with me and see, sir, I can make this work for those online. Just real quickly, we got some drone shots of the Olive Crossing this weekend. Becky, I'm hoping you can see.
Very cool. I cannot, but that's all right. Here, wait a minute. Hold on. Yes, now I can, because I made it bigger.
All righty. So this thing I thought would let me.
Hold on, I have dog problems here.
Yeah, it's not gonna work as well as I thought, but anyway, construction is coming along pretty well. At the site, they're starting on the 3rd level. I think they'll be starting on the 4th level framing within by next week. And it always moves pretty quickly in there. That's the apartment complex. So they have the garage structure assembled, and then the framing is for the living units. And there. Easy storage, you saw the site works commencing on that site ground. They're doing some remediation on the soils, and we're hoping they'll be applying for their building permits within the next couple of weeks. Keep saying that, but I think this time we're getting just about there. And there, Mr. Sella, he talked about was hoping that they were closer to an opening date, but things are progressing on that site. And I think all the other sites are pretty well set. We do have and I think Mr. Yowitz had noted in the July meeting, a coffee vendor that will be taking up the space of the former Starbucks. They were there today doing some clearing and cleaning in there. So they'll be doing some minor improvements, and but I don't have a date of when they're looking to open yet in there. I'd be glad to answer any questions or done.
Any questions?
None here. None here, no questions. With that being said, Mr. Carl. Councilman Carl.
Okay. Let me see what's going on in the city. Wednesday night is Olivet Night Out, so I hope you have your neighborhoods registered so that we can pay you a visit on Wednesday. Thursday, September the 4th or September the 1st, we will have another blood drive, a battle of the badges between the fire department and the police. The police said that their loser has to cook breakfast for the winner. So the police said the fire department are very good cooks from the last one. Let's see, we have the turkey trot is back this year. You can start to sign up for it now. There'll be a coffee with the mayor September 14th. There's a community-wide yard sale on September 17th and 18th over the weekend. There is an event in Stacy Park. Rockin' in the Park will be September 24th. And let's see, the Villa and Stacy Park pavilions are closed for construction. Irvside is available until July 1st. The Stacy parking lot is closed closed April 25th and is set to reopen, well, this month. So I think we're a little behind. Okay, that's all I have, unless you have any questions.
A question for you, with Wednesdays, Olivet Night Out, is there a place to check where you're registered? Because I did register our street, our subdivision, but just sort of went into a black hole.
I'm going to turn that one over to Barb.
We call it the east side
What's the
or
researcher?
Centerton. Actually, Watson's addition to Centerton. Probably Zurcher. Watsonia, Old Bonham, Doozer. Wait, there's really no, well, it's a conglomeration of things that have been done a long time ago, so. Okay, cool. Great. Confirmed. All right.
Oh, there's any public comments or?
Yeah, I have a couple of gentlemen in the office, or the audience here. We had public comments earlier, but if there are any comments that you have, we'd be happy to entertain them. We're just always so excited when people show up to our meetings. Great, appreciate it. Good night, yeah. Well, appreciate your presence here, very much so. All right, thanks for coming. That being said, commission reports. We're done with that. And with that being said, I think we're all done here.
All right, thanks, everybody. Have a great evening.
We are done. Thank you very much.